Today I'm going to expand on the spiritual intent of our Creator's clean and unclean statutes and how they apply to being delivered into His eternal family. To begin with, it is important to understand why He said that He is going to send a double portion of His wrath upon the scattered descendants of Israel at the time of the end. In Ezekiel 22 and elsewhere, He says that it is because your priests have violated my Torah. They have profaned my holy things. They put no difference between the holy and the profane. Neither have they showed difference between the clean and the unclean. And they have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profaned among them. Elsewhere, His word declares that His wrath will apply to all of you who do not turn from your rebellion to His word. In other videos, I've spoken about the spiritual intent of the statutes that are associated with a woman's menstruation cycle. When a woman's blood is departing from her each month, it is passing her dead seed that is unfertilized from her body. Yahweh's word declares that she is to be considered unclean during this time. The design of this statute, along with the design of all of His clean and unclean statutes, is to teach us that if we are unclean before His face, we are departing from being His seed. Therefore, we are departing from being His eternal children. The spiritual intent of this statute is to point to a reality that His word testifies to. This reality is, if we are unclean before Yahweh's face, then His Son's shed blood is passing from us, and it is not atoning for us. Therefore, we are departing from being His seed. We are like dead seed passing from His body, or from His presence. In Ezekiel 18, He says in verse 20, the life that sins, in other words, according to His word, the life that transgresses against His Torah, since, according to the Apostle John, sin is transgression of His Torah, the life that sins, it will die. His unclean statute concerning the male seed of copulation departing from him, making him unclean, has a similar spiritual intent that adds to this emphasis of departing from being His seed if we are unclean. When the seed of copulation departs from a man, he is to wash himself and his clothing along with all that the seed came upon, and he is to be unclean until evening. In like manner, the statute associated with the woman's menstruation cycle, this statute is designed to teach us that if we are unclean before Yahweh's face, we are departing from being His seed. The clean and unclean food statutes have a similar intent. If we eat that which Yahweh declares is unclean, we become unclean. This is designed to teach us that, in like manner, we must not feed our minds with that which is unclean. If we do, the end result is our minds become polluted and our thoughts become unclean before Yahweh's face. And when this happens, precept upon precept declares that the end result that comes from feeding our minds with that which is unclean is we pass from being His seed. We pass from being His children. His Son's atoning blood passes from covering us. We must feed our minds with His unleavened bread of life, which His Son became in the flesh. The old saying goes, you are what you eat. When our diet solely becomes His unleavened bread of life, we become unleavened. That's what we're here to become. The ultimate manifestation of His clean and unclean statutes is the magnification of His touching the dead statute that He has magnified at this time. He sent His first witness to magnify His Torah and to make it honorable, like the prophet Isaiah said He would. It's actually given in a prophecy about both witnesses there and speaking about in the following verses and such. So in like manner, He has sent me to do the same. In Matthew chapter 8, we read, and another of His disciples said to Him, Master, allow me to first go and bury my father. And Yeshua said to him, Follow after me and let the dead bury their dead. In this verse, He is talking about live people who are spiritually dead, burying dead people. In this parable, He is saying that if you are not following in His footsteps, which are the only footsteps that lead to eternal life, you are dead before His Father's face. Yahweh's clean and unclean statutes tell us that touching the dead makes us unclean. The magnification of this statute is being given at this time in order to separate those of you who will return to Him from all whom are unclean. It is being magnified so much so that we are being commanded to not even touch those who are not walking on the same path as our Messiah walked on. According to this magnification and according to Yeshua's parable, If you are not walking on the same pathway that he walked on, which is walking in his Father's Torah, you are spiritually dead. Therefore, you are like a dead person. You are unclean. This applies to everyone. So it applies to those in the marketplace or even those within our own households. We are being commanded to not even touch them because they are like unto dead people. For that matter, the statute says that we are not to even go into the household of where a dead person is. If we do, we become unclean before Yahweh's face. This brings into play the water separation and the red heifer statute. This statute has been reinstated and magnified at this time as well. This is discussed in the Mystery of the Red Heifer Revealed video and in the Dead Before Elohim's Face video. Within the clean and unclean statutes, precept upon precept, line upon line, says that if we continue to touch the dead, we are being shut off from the blood of Yeshua's atoning sacrifice. His blood is departing from us. Therefore, we are passing from being his father's seed like the dead seed departing from a woman. We are passing from being his seed like the seed of copulation departs from a man. We are passing from being his seed or from being his eternal children because we are unclean before his face. We are here in the flesh to learn to be clean in his presence. And these physical statutes are in place to cause us to desire his righteousness, to become our righteousness, so that we are clean in his presence. Two cannot walk together in harmony unless they are in agreement. It is walking in his clean and unclean statutes that helps teach us to become as he is. This is why he gave them to us to walk in. It is walking in them that sets us apart to him to become as he is. If you want to keep walking with the dead of this world, therefore touching them and becoming unclean with them, this is your choice. You are simply choosing to go your own way and to pass on his offer to be delivered into the millennium. Plus, if you are not walking after his son in the first place, therefore you're not walking as he walked in his Father's Torah, you are not only touching the dead anyway, you yourself are dead before his face. You are a walking dead person. Therefore, you are like a zombie before his face. So all of the hype that is out there with the CDC and the Homeland Security and other organizations like this preparing for a zombie apocalypse is spot on, and they do not even know it. The world is currently full of walking dead people, and the apocalypse is at hand. Do you think that Yahweh would himself touch the dead when he says doing so makes us unclean? The answer is he will not. Therefore he is getting ready to purge the walking dead from before his face. If you do not turn from your rebellion to his clean and unclean statutes, along with turning from your rebellion to the rest of his word, then prepare to find out that he was not lying when he said in Ezekiel 18, the life that sins, or in other words, the life that transgresses against his Torah, it will die. His bottom line declares that when we transgress against his Torah, we are unclean before his face. And line upon line, it declares that when we are unclean before his face, his son's atoning blood departs from us, and therefore we pass from being his seed. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim.